Hey guys, so welcome back to my channel. I had an idea for a new type of video to do. It's gonna be like just solving practice questions basically, and I'm gonna organize it by the skills that are being tested, the level of difficulty, and the subject. So previously my videos have been like about like one topic basically, and just like trying to summarize that topic, but today we're going to be going through questions in the question bank. So first of all, I'm just going to like show you the question bank so that you can use it yourself. Please don't show my scores. Okay, here. So student question bank is at the bottom of like, you'll just find it if you go to the SAT section basically. Choose assessment, SAT section, reading and writing. I know previously like all my videos have been about math, but I feel very comfortable with reading and writing, and I think it would be like if we're gonna be doing practice questions and stuff like that, I'd like to, you know, start with this first and then we can do math. But yeah, so you can select your difficulty, skill, and stuff like that. But lucky for you guys, I already went through this process and I have our first 3 videos ready for this series. The first part is gonna be half of the easy and medium questions for expression of ideas, rhetorical synthesis, and transitions. The second part is going to be the second half of the easy and difficult, the easy and medium ones, and then the last one is just going to be the hard questions. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's start going through the questions. This is going to be like, we're going to be going through the entire question bank together, excluding the questions that are in the practice test and blue book. So I always like put that, I always check this so that, you know, we're getting accurate scores when we take the practice tests and we're not getting like extra points, like bonus points, just from having seen the question before. Yeah, okay, so I'll see you guys really soon. I'm gonna go to the documents and we're gonna start going through the questions, and I'm so excited because I think this is gonna be very helpful for both of us. So yeah, okay. All right, so here's our first question. When researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. So the first thing I can say about this type of question is that usually you do not have to read the notes. Usually you just have to read what the student wants to do with the notes. So here, for example, it says they want to present the study's results. So we just have to find an answer choice that talks about the study's results. By the way, this is my first time seeing these questions. So yeah, so I haven't had previous exposure to them, but I feel pretty comfortable with this. So I think it'll be fine. But if something does happen, just know that I've never seen these before and I didn't like figure out how to explain them beforehand. I'm just trying to walk you through my thought process because I've been consistently scoring pretty well in the reading and writing section. So anyways, yeah. So let's find an answer choice that talks about the study's results. So the first one says macaques in the study called out to and gestured more frequently at humans holding food than at empty-handed humans. Maybe, yeah, so that sounds like a result. B, in 2018, researchers who had observed macaques in India's Bandipur National Park calling out to and gesturing at humans designed a study. That's like an introduction to the study, but it's not talking about the results of the study. You know what I mean? Okay, C, the researchers hoped to find out if the macaques were intentionally communicating to try to persuade humans to share their food. That is not the study's results. Again, that is just like prefacing the study, like introducing the study, but it's not showing what the outcome of the study was. D, the researchers studied how macaques behaved around both humans holding food and empty-handed humans. That sounds like a description of the study. So I think it's A, because A is actually talking about what happened in the study, which is that the macaques called out to and gestured more frequently at humans holding food. So yeah, I think it's A. And that's correct, yeah. A. Okay, next question. Let me, one second. Okay, I just had to change the scroll direction so that next time we wouldn't see the answer before. Okay, while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. So the student wants to emphasize the difference between the two muslins. These questions are thankfully so easy to do because you just have to look for a difference being pointed it out, okay? So you'll see what I mean when we look at the choices, because some of them, like, they just make this one so easy. Okay, A, Dhaka muslin is a handmade fabric with an extremely fine weave, while sheeting muslin is a machine made with a coarse weave. So, yeah, that's the difference between them. The second one says Dhaka muslin and sheeting muslin are two different types of woven cotton fabrics. Yeah, okay. Muslins can be used in a variety of ways, from making luxury clothing to upholstering furniture and creating backdrops for theater settings. That is using them generally. It's not showing a difference. This one says sheeting. D says sheeting muslin is machine made, has a coarse weave, and is used for furniture and theater sets. It doesn't talk about the other muslin at all, so I don't think it's C or D because they're not comparing the two. Like C is generalizing the two, or like saying something that's similar between them, and D is just focusing on one. So it has to be A or B, okay? And we wanted to emphasize the difference, not just mention the difference, but emphasize it. So A is saying like this muslin, handmade, extremely fine weave. Other one says, and then it says while the other muslin is machine made with a coarse weave. I think it's A because there's more emphasis on the differences. For B, it says that they're different, but there's not a lot of emphasis on it. It's kind of like, yeah, it's just there's not as much emphasis as there is in the first answer, and we want to choose the best answer, and we want to choose one where they're emphasizing a difference between the two. But also like B, it's saying something similar too, because it's saying two different types of woven cotton fabrics. So it's saying they're both made from woven cotton fabrics, just like two different types. So I'm pretty sure it's A. Let's see. Yes, A is the correct answer. And let's see why B is incorrect. It says this choice lists two kinds of muslins but does not say how they're different from one another. Yeah, so they say they're two different types of woven cotton fabrics, but like it says, they don't say how, they don't put like any emphasis on it. So yeah. Okay, next. While researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. Let's skip the notes. The student wants to make a generalization about ultra marathons. So we have to choose a choice, answer choice. By the way, I'm still sick, so sorry about that. Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, the student wants to make a generalization. So examples of ultra marathons include the 33.7. Okay, this is getting way too specific. Yeah, okay, so A is just too specific. We're trying to generalize. B says a marathon is 26.2 miles long, but the Spreeloff ultra marathon at 260 miles is far longer. No, it's not generalizing. Ultra marathons range widely in length, but from a few dozen miles to a few hundred. I think it's C. While the Kepler Challenge is a one-day ultramarathon, the Spreeloff is a 6-day ultramarathon. That is not generalizing. That is saying the difference between two ultramarathons. So another tip for reading and writing is like when you're doing it, you have to remember that the reading and writing section on the SAT is a lot more objective than some people would think, because like it's English, but it's objective, okay? So we can try to figure out why the other answer choices are incorrect instead of just trying to look for the one that works the best. So I'm saying A is incorrect because it is a little too specific for me. Like it's talking about the actual length of the marathons and stuff and like specific ones instead of generalizing. B is also just talking about one ultramarathon. C is talking about all ultramarathons. And then D is like, no. It's comparing two different ultramarathons. So I'm gonna go with C. Yeah. So C, it's the only one that makes a generalization, right? All right. Next question. This is taking a lot longer than I thought it would, but I hope it's worth it and this is useful. Okay, so while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. The student wants to explain the origin of the species name. So we have to talk about the origin of the name. So Mansorosaurus, a new species, lived approximately 80 million years ago. No, we don't want to know when it lived. We want to know how it got its name. Okay? B. A partial dinosaur skeleton found in Egypt's Dakhla Oasis belonged to a species named Mansorosaurus. That does not tell us about its name. Okay? Mansorosaurus, a species that lived approximately 80 million years ago, was discovered in 2013 by Egyptian paleontologists and a team of university students. No, that does not tell us the origin of its name. That's telling us the origin of its discovery. Okay, but or like just telling us about its discovery, not its name. So it has to be D. We already know that because the first three do not tell us about the name. Then D, the new species was named Mansorosaurus to recognize the team that discovered it, a professor and students from Mansoura University. All right, yeah, so it's D because, you know, it's actually telling us about the origin of the species name, and that's what the student wants. So, all right, next question. Oh, sorry. Next question. Alexander Lawrence Posey varied his focus and tone depending on the genre in which he was writing. In his poetry, he used heartfelt language to evoke the beauty and peacefulness of his natural surroundings. In his journalism, he employed humor and satire to comment on political issues affecting his Muskogee Creek University. So which choice completes the text with the most logical transition? So right off the bat, I'm thinking it's by contrast. Okay, because it's saying that he varies his tone. He makes it different, right? And then it says, and then it's trying to give like an example of it, I guess, of him varying his tone. So it says in his poetry, he uses like heartfelt language and, you know, like it's just very different from the description of his journalism where it's saying that he's employing humor and satire. So I think it's by contrast. Yeah, in his journalism. Yeah, so let's see. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Next one, wish cycling, putting non-recyclable items into recycling bins under the mistaken belief that those items can be recycled ultimately does more harm than good. Non-recyclable items such as greasy pizza boxes can contaminate recyclable materials, rendering entire batches unusable. Blank non-recyclable products can damage recycling plants' machinery. I think it's moreover. Because fittingly, I mean, maybe. Because, I mean, they damage the batch. Why wouldn't they damage the machine? On the contrary, no. Why would it be on the contrary? This is about, like, the same thing. Like, we're not talking about, like, two views on the opposite sides of the spectrum or whatever. Like, this is not, like, on the contrary. Like, no, we're still talking about the same thing. C, moreover, I feel like it's moreover because they're like adding on to why it shouldn't be, why non-recyclable items mess up recycling. So I feel like it's moreover because like it's like in addition, kind of, you know. And then nevertheless is like, no, that's not the right transition because nevertheless is like, oh, you know, despite that, blah blah blah, which is like, huh? So yeah, C. All right, next. Oh, another note. So listen, when you see these notes questions, you should get excited because you should be like, ooh, we got an easy question here. My cat, for some reason, he thinks he can start walking on the table now. All of a sudden, he's never been allowed to walk on the table. But today, he's just like, he keeps coming on here. So I had to take care of that. Okay. Anyways, and while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. The student wants to emphasize a similarity between Beard's invention and Jones's invention. Yeah, okay, so we have to look for an answer choice that talks about a similarity. Okay? So it can't just, if the answer choice only talks about one of them, eliminated. If an answer choice compares them, it talks about differences, eliminated. Okay? So we're trying to find a similarity. So the first one says, Beard's automatic coupler and John's mobile refrigeration system both improved on existing designs. Okay, that's a similarity. B says, in 1897, Beard invented a, okay, that's just talking about one of them, so no, it's not B. C, Beard's invention made the job of connecting train cars safer, whereas Jones's invention enabled food transport trucks to carry perishables farther. No, because that's talking about a difference. We're trying to find a similarity. D, Jones's mobile refrigeration system, which he invented in 1933, that's just about Jones. So it's B. Sorry, it's A. I feel like I should have just not gotten easy questions, but maybe this is useful for someone, so. Okay, let's try to go a little faster. The number of dark spots that appear on the sun, known as sunspots, can vary greatly. For example, there were about 180 sunspots in November 2001. Blank, there were only about 2 sunspots in December 2008. By comparison, because it's saying vary again, so change. Yeah, D. Okay. While researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. The student wants to describe how fabric is used in assertion of will. Which choice most effectively, okay, so how fabric wants to describe how fabric is used in assertion of will. Okay, so A said, sorry. Okay, A says, in AW, the figure's clothing is made of fabric pieces stitched to the painting's canvas. Okay, well, that talks about how it's used. B says, the exhibition, or okay, this doesn't even mention AW, assertion of will, so let's not. Okay, let's just not. This says depicting 3 standing clothed figures. This does not talk about fabric. Yeah, it doesn't talk about fabric. D says Symphoe in Zube's AW was one of the, okay, that's not talking about fabric. Okay, so it's A, because that's the only one that talks about assertion of will and that talks about fabric. So, yeah. Oh, if y'all did A push, you know what muckraker is. Or maybe not. Maybe, like, obviously you can know about it outside of A push, but that's where I remember it from, so cool. Okay. The student wants to emphasize the thoroughness of Ida Tarbell's investigation of the Standard Oil Company. Okay, so we're looking for something about Ida's investigation, and we're looking for a lot of emphasis. Yeah, okay, so, and we're trying to show that she put a lot of, like, effort into properly covering the situation. So A says, Tarbell not only interviewed, but also examined. So that's showing thoroughness in her research, right? B says Tarbell, who investigated that company, was a muckraker. Okay, so what does that have to do with how she investigated it? Because we're trying to show that she investigated it really well. What does that have to do with how she investigated it? So it's not B. C, as part of her investigation, she conducted interviews. Okay, well, but that doesn't put any emphasis on how thorough she was. D, published in 1904, her book exposed the company's unfair business practices, but that doesn't mention the investigation. So it's going to be A. Oh my goodness, I did not mean to do that. All right, to discover which fruit varieties were grown in Italy's Umbria region before the introduction of industrial farming, botanist Isabella Dalla Ragione often turns to centuries-old lists of cooking ingredients. Blank, she analyzes Renaissance paintings of Umbria as they can provide accurate representations that were grown long ago. Okay, so it's saying that to discover something, this botanist usually, often, right, like she often turns to cooking ingredients, lists of cooking ingredients, but she analyzes Renaissance paintings. So here's what I'm thinking. It's saying often, so like usually she, turns to the list of cooking ingredients. Blank, she analyzes the paintings. So I think it's saying like also, sometimes she does this too. So I don't think it's in sum, because what are we summing up? Like literally, what are we summing up? B, I don't think it's instead, because I mean, just listen to the sentence with instead. To discover which fruit varieties were grown in Italy's before the introduction, botanist often turns the centuries-old list of cooking ingredients. Instead, she analyzes Renaissance paintings as they provide accurate representations of fruits. Like, what do you mean instead? Like, it just doesn't work, really. Like, maybe if it said, like, this scientist does this, but instead this one does this, like, because it's more reliable or whatever. But that's not what it's saying. C says thus. Thus, she analyzes, like, thus is like when you're saying, like, you know, therefore this is happening. But that's not what's happening here, you know? I think, and additionally is like, I think additionally works because it says that she often turns to this, and she uses paintings too. So she often uses cooking lists, and she uses paintings as well. So I think it's additionally. Yeah. I was just checking the difficulty of that question because I was like, that was a little too easy. Anyways, so the student wants to emphasize Wu's most well-known achievement. So we have to talk about her achievement and really put a lot of emphasis on it. Okay? So A says she has won multiple flute competitions and combined flute playing and beatboxing. Okay, so this is like not putting emphasis on her wins. It's like brushing past them because it's saying Annie Wu, who won multiple national flute competitions, has also combined flute playing and beatboxing. It's like shifting the reader's focus to her combination of flute playing and beatboxing. Okay, well, let's see. Is that her most well-known achievement? Is combining flute playing and beatboxing her most well-known achievement? Because if that's her most well-known achievement, and it's not the winning flute competitions, then maybe A is correct, actually. So for this, in this case, I am gonna look at the notes so that I can know what that best known, you know, achievement is. So it says Annie Wu was a prominent American flutist. She won multiple national flute competitions. She's best known for a YouTube video where she's combining flute playing and beatboxing. So maybe A is correct because I thought that her well-known achievement would be winning the competitions, but her most well-known achievement is actually the flute playing and beatboxing. So maybe A is the correct answer because it is putting emphasis on it. But I mean, the fact that I couldn't even tell that that was the more well-known achievement kind of makes me doubt that A is the correct answer. Because like I couldn't even tell that that was like significant, you know. Yeah. So, let's take a look at the other options. So B, among her many achievements, prominent Wu graduated from this conservatory and won multiple national flute competitions. That doesn't even mention her most well-known achievements, so it's definitely not B. C, Wu is best known for a YouTube video performance that has been viewed over 2 million times. Okay, so that is putting emphasis on her most well-known achievement. And I can tell that it's a big achievement, that it's her best achievement, best known achievement. And then D just talks about D just talks about the composer of the performance she was doing. So no, this is about Wu here. We're talking about Annie. She's the main character in this question. It's not about the composer. And A, it talks about her achievement, but it doesn't even like emphasize that it's like a big deal. It just says, oh yeah, and she combined flute playing and beatboxing. Like it's nothing. That's really cool. Like I want to watch it now. But yeah, so yeah, I'm thinking C. Yeah. Arkansas aviator Faden was already a record breaker when she won the Derby, a race. Okay, so in August, blank, in December, she set a record when she reached an altitude of 20,000 feet. So she was already a record breaker in August, but in December she decided to be a record breaker again. A record breaker again. So, okay, it's saying she was a record breaker in August 1929 when she won the Derby. I'm thinking it's going to be earlier because it doesn't say that she broke a record during that competition. It just says she was already a record breaker, and then in the next sentence it's talking about the record that she, the record that she broke. So I'm thinking it's saying earlier because it's saying earlier. So it's saying like she was a record breaker when she won this competition. Earlier, she broke that record. That's what it looks like to me. So let me just say the sentence so you guys can hear what I'm hearing. Arkansas aviator Louis Thaden was already a record breaker when she won the inaugural National Women's Air Derby in August of 1929. Earlier, in December of 1928, she set an aviation record when she reached an altitude of 20,000 feet. Yeah, earlier. All right, so the student wants to emphasize a similarity between the two works. So we're going to talk about how they're similar. So let's see. A. Erasure used discarded objects. Homegrown, however, included those. Okay, so that's saying a difference because it's like comparing the different materials they used. We're trying to talk about a similarity and we're trying to emphasize it too, so that's not going to work. B. Tubbs's work, which often features discarded objects, has been shown both within the United States and abroad. That's not talking about the two works. That's talking about like all the works of this artist. C. Like many of Tubbs's sculptures, both erasure and homegrown include discarded objects. Erasure uses audio cassette tapes and homegrown uses plastic forks. C sounds correct because it's talking about a similarity between both of them, which is that they both use discarded objects. D is definitely not correct because it's talking about when they were completed, but the student does not care about that. He wants to talk about how they're similar, not when they were completed. Maybe if they're both completed in the same year or something, I don't know, but even then there isn't a lot of emphasis, so yeah, it's C. Cool. Okay, sorry. Sorry, I'm sick. Okay. Before the 1847 introduction of the U.S. postage stamp, the cost of postage was usually paid by the recipient of a letter rather than the sender, and the recipients were not always able or willing to pay promptly. Blank, collecting this fee could be slow and arduous. Okay, so it's saying that before the introduction of the postage stamp, it was, people had to pay for the recipient had to pay to get the letter. And then it's saying collecting this fee could then be slow. So it's like a consequence of the recipient having to pay to receive it. Instead of the sender paying to give it or whatever. So I think it's consequently. Let's just eliminate the other choices before we choose that. So regardless, collecting this fee can be slow and arduous. It's not regardless because it's taking the last statement into regard. It has to do with it. It's not just like dismissing it. On the contrary, there's no difference between this. They sound pretty related, you know, and relevant to each other. C consequently makes sense to me. D, for example, that's not an example of the recipient's, you know, the next sentence isn't an example of a recipient being unable to or unwilling to pay. So let's see. Oh my goodness, sorry. Okay. Practical movie effects such as the use of actual locations in a film provide a more realistic visual experience than CGI does, but giving the audience the real thing can be expensive. For this reason, many filmmakers use a blended approach, employing practical effects whenever possible and CGI as necessary. Yeah, for this reason, that makes a lot of sense. Similarly, doesn't really make sense because you're not showing a similarity between two different things. You're literally just continuing an idea. Like, no, you're just like, similarly, it doesn't make sense because you're not talking about two different things and showing how, and like showing that they're similar. You're not. So that doesn't really make sense to me. For this reason, does, because it's saying that the real thing is expensive. So they don't just use the real thing, you know, for this reason. Furthermore, it's like you're continuing on, which is like, I get how you can be confused and think like, okay, maybe this is furthermore, but for this reason just makes like a lot more sense. And furthermore is like you're adding information, but this is like not continuing to talk about how the real thing is more expensive or whatever. It's talking about what they do because of that. So for this reason, in other words, no, because we're not rephrasing what was said before. So B. Okay. In 1891, dancer and choreographer Loie Fuller performed dance. She twirled her long skirt to create visual effects. Blank, in 1896, some of the pioneers made a groundbreaking short film of Fuller's dance. I think it's later. Because also, like, they're sharing dates. Remember the last question where it said earlier and they told us the date? Like, I think it was like 1928 and 1929 or something. I don't know. But I think the fact that they're telling us the year is significant. But, like, take that with a grain of salt because that may not always be the case. This is a pattern that I'm just now seeing. So, yeah. Okay, so, yeah. So, I think it's later. However, doesn't really make sense. I don't think I have to explain why. And I don't want to keep taking a lot of time. In conclusion, does not make sense either. In other words, no, we're not rebirding anything. Yeah, so I'm gonna say later. Yeah, see. Ugh, not a bunch of easy questions. Okay. In the 1850s, William Still was instrumental in helping nearly 1,000 people escape from slavery. Blank, despite the fame of his contributions during his lifetime, still is discussed. So he's still discussed less than other black abolitionists from his era, such as Douglas and Tubman, Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman. Okay, so it's saying that even though he helped so many people, he's still not given as much credit. So I think it's saying, like, however, you know, because we're not specifying anything, we're not showing a similarity, and we're not giving an example of him helping people. We're talking about like how despite him helping people, this is what happened. So yeah, I think it's B. Cool. Okay. So a student has taken these notes. The student wants to describe Adnan's December from my window to an audience already familiar with leporellos. So when it says already familiar, don't choose an answer choice that explains what they said is already familiar, or that prefaces it, or, you know, that just like talks about it like you talk about it to someone who doesn't know about something. So if it starts describing leporellos, go. Run the other way, because that's not correct. Okay, so it was describe Adnan's December from my window. Okay, so A, featuring a panoramic landscape, the 1933 is one of Adnan's many leporellos, which are accordion style. Okay, so now it's describing leporellos. We don't need to know what leporellos are. This is for an audience that's already familiar with leporellos. Okay? B, when expanded, Adnan's 1933 Leporello, December from my window reveals a panoramic landscape painted in ink and watercolor. Yeah, so it's describing December from my window. It's talking about like what it is. It's a panoramic landscape, and it's saying like what it's painted in, and it's not describing what Leporello is. C says known for making many other accordion style folded books called Leporellos. We don't need to know, like you can just say Leporellos. You don't need to say all this accordion style folded books because this audience already knows what Leporellos are. Okay, so it's not C, it's not A. D, a Leporello such as Adnan's December from my window is a folded accordion style. Okay, so why is it describing what a Leporello is when our audience knows what it is? Like we don't need to, like this is so unnecessary. Also, it's not describing how the painting looks. Is it a painting? I think it's a painting, like based on the answers. Yeah, it's a painting. Yeah, it's a painting. Yeah, so it's not describing the painting, and it's describing what a Leporello is. That's exactly what we don't want. That's exactly what we don't want. So we're gonna go with B because it doesn't describe what a Leporello is, and it describes how the painting looks. Okay, so while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. The student wants to emphasize a difference between the behavior of jellyfish and that of black dragonfish. Okay, so we're trying to find something that's jellyfish versus black dragonfish in terms of their behavior. So A says both of them, no. We're not, saying a similarity between them. No. I don't want to hear any both of them. No, we're trying to separate them. Okay? So A, immediately, no. B, black dragonfish. Okay, so that's just about one of them. As you can see, if you just skim the rest of the sentence, it doesn't mention the other one. We're trying to emphasize the difference between two different types of like sea animals. Okay, so we need to mention both of them. It can't just be about black dragonfish. It can't just be about jellyfish. Okay? C, bioluminescence, the emission of light by what? Bioluminescence? Was anyone asking about bioluminescence? I didn't think so. We're trying to compare the behavior of two sea animals. Why are you going on about bioluminescence? No. Okay? No. D, jellyfish emit light to startle predators, whereas black dragonfish do so to locate prey. There's a difference between the behavior. Thank you. Because the other ones were a little ridiculous. Like, come on now. All right. While researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. The student wants to present LEGO's aim and methodology. So we're trying to present his aim and his methodology. So what he was trying to do and what he was going to use to do it, I guess. I don't have time to like explain better, but okay. A, in 2015, LEGO's massive interferometers detected a powerful rip that originated in deep space and eventually passed through Earth. I don't know about their aim through that. Okay, B, through the physics study, though the physics study began in 2002, its massive interferometers didn't detect a gravitational wave until 2015. I don't know the aim. I still don't know what he was trying to do. Okay? To achieve its aims, LEGO uses a pair of massive interferometers that are thousands of miles apart. Okay, but what is the aim? What is the aim? Because the student is trying to present their aim, right? I still don't know the aim. Okay? So it's not C. Because it's not giving me the message. It's not delivering, like, you know? D, a physics study designed to detect and analyze gravitational waves. LIGO. Okay, so that's the aim of it. It's supposed to detect and analyze waves. LIGO uses a pair of massive interferometers that are thousands of miles apart, and it's showing the method that they use. So I think it's D. Don't you think? Because the other ones are not explaining the aim at all. Or, yeah, it's just not telling us the aim and the methodology, so we can just, yeah. All right. While researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. The student wants to explain the goal of Brook Farm using a quotation from George Ripley. So we're trying to say the goal of Brook Farm. I'm gonna read the notes for this one just so that I can know the goal. So just from skimming it, I see that the goal is in the fifth bullet point. It says, to guarantee the highest mental freedom by providing all with labor adapted to their tastes and talents and securing to them the fruits of their industry. Okay, so let's see. A, in a letter, writer George Ripley explained his goal to guarantee the highest mental freedom. So he must explain the goal of Brook Farm using a quotation. Well, I guess that's the goal, but there isn't really an explanation, so let's just see if there's a more fitting answer choice. Utopias such as Brook Farm, founded by George Ripley, were based on a specific set of principles intended to create a perfect society. No, because first of all, we don't even have any quotations in that. Okay, so, how can that be the answer? Okay, C. Founded by George Ripley near Boston, Massachusetts, Brook Farm was part of a trend in the 1800s when reformers in the United States built utopias. Okay, but you're not answering the question because you're not explaining the goal using a quotation. D. Established in 1841, Brook Farm was a utopian community created to guarantee the highest mental freedom by providing all with labor and the fruits of their industry, according to founder George Ripley. Okay, well, I like D the most because it's trying to explain the goal. Okay, so the student wants to explain the goal of the farm and they want to use a quotation. In A, it says that George Ripley explained his goal to guarantee the highest mental freedom, but the student himself isn't really explaining the goal, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like D is just better because I feel like it does a better job at explaining the goal using a quotation. I don't know if you catch my drift, but yeah, okay, D. Okay. Researchers believe that pieces of hull found off Oregon's coast are from a Spanish cargo ship that was lost in 1697. Stories passed down among the area's confederated tribes of Siletz Indians support this belief. Blank Siletz stories describe how blocks of beeswax began washing ashore after the ship was lost. Okay, so it's saying that researchers thought that like pieces on this coast are from a ship that was lost. And then it says that stories passed down by a group of people support that belief that, you know, things that were found off Oregon's coast are from that ship. Okay? And then it says blank. So that stories describe how. So I think it's for example because it's giving an example of one of those beliefs. You know, it's giving an example of one of those stories that support that belief. So I think it's for example. Yeah. Next. All right. The student wants to describe the wok's shape. So, A. Young's book traces the history of the cooking pan. We don't see anything about the shape. B. Able to cook food evenly and contain oil splatters. That doesn't tell us about the shape. C says a wok is a cooking pan with a round, wide base and high angled sides. I'd say it's C because it's talking about the shape. D. The design of a wok, a type of cooking pan that originated in China during the Han Dynasty. was about to say I was about to say the Dan Dynasty. I'm so sorry. During the Han Dynasty, helps the pan cook food evenly and contain oil spatters. So the student wants to describe the wok shape. I think C works the best because it's describing the wok's shape. The D talks about the design of it and how it helps the pan like achieve its goal, or how it helps the pan, how the design of the pan helps it to cook food well, but it's not talking about the shape itself, you know. But I think it could be like really tricky because like you may think, oh, it's D because you know it like, yeah. Anyways, oh, that's it. Okay, so that's it. I'm so sorry that took so much longer than I thought it would, but like this is my first time doing this. Next time I'll try to, you know, do better pacing or whatever. But yeah, oh my goodness, that was like 2 minutes per question, so we're gonna do better next time. All right, that was it. We got all of them correct, so good job. Pat yourself on the back. Thank you for reasoning with me and using logic and all that. And if anything didn't make sense, then just let me know in the comments below. You know the drill. And yeah, have a good day. I hope this was helpful. Tune in for part 2. Bye bye.